I recently reviewed 3 low-budget racing games all published by Play Publishing. These games for the most part were really mediocre racing games. Really, the only time it truly got bad was with its track design, or game mechanics I didn't really understood. One look at this cover will tell you that it's Need for Speed but set in Russia. But is it? Maybe the back of the box will tell us more about this game. I didn't do that in the last video, so let's do it. Excuse my poor translation skills because I don't trust Google Translate. Need for Russia is a collection of 3 crazy racing games that puts you behind the wheel of Russian vehicles. You will race both in old Russian cars from the 70s and 80s of the 20th century, as well as in models from the modern era in tuned version. Includes lots of Russian vehicles, big amount of amazing tracks, career mode. With that out of the way, let's check out if any of these claims are true by checking out the games. Well, they weren't lying. You do indeed race in Russian vehicles, and it sure has lots of tracks, even if a lot of them are repeats. And it will get worse. As for the gameplay, it's Ultimate Riders, except here they thought of putting the minimap where all the checkpoints are marked. So already a slight improvement. And here's something that's worth mentioning. You can select a single track unless you unlock them in career mode, which means that I will have to play all these tracks in these 3 games. There's technically a 4th game, but that's a completely different game. We might take a quick look at it later in this video. While on the topic of tracks, I might as well make a small correction for a mistake I did in my last video. I said that Ultimate Riders had 7 tracks out of 32. However, I found on Polish Abandover wiki that it's actually 10 out of 32 tracks. Also, this track I called Circuit is actually a karting track, so my bad. Now to make sure I don't make another mistake, we this time have 11 tracks. Alpine, Desert, Meadow, Winter Track, Castle, By the Rock, Dawn, Bootcamp, Karting Track, City of Night, and finally, Electricity. Out of all these tracks, I think By the Rock is one of the better ones. I don't mind this track, it's fine. Bootcamp can be a little confusing as to where you need to turn, but besides that, I don't have any problem with this game. Although some tracks can go on for a little too long. This Alpine one was 8 minutes long. This time I'm going to rate these games. This one is like 5 out of 10, it's inoffensive, just really mediocre, that's all. It's the second game in the collection and I think I'm starting to notice a pattern here. These games are going to be the same game just with different vehicles. I think the back of the box tried to warn us. This isn't a game where you race in Moscow. The game cover lied to me. But that's okay because the very first track we have is Cherno... Oh no. I know in the Polish version it roughly translates to power plant, but the fact they have fully modeled Ferris wheel doesn't make this any better. But it's not like this game has any different tracks, because it's the only new one they added. It does have a rubber band AI. What do you think? Does this look fair to you? And hey, what do you know? It's another game where I can easily replace the game files. This time I only replaced the music so I could get through these games faster. Sometimes the game has me playing in this truck and it's so wide that I can see the road. This is where a first person view was useful. I normally don't use it at all in racing games. You'll notice that as we go further, I'll have less things to say about these games. It's not easy to talk about the same game 3 times. I know I promised the 4th game, but we'll get there, don't worry. Oh yeah, I'm giving this game 4 out of 10. Reused tracks, terrible rubber band AI, music so weak that I had to replace it with a different soundtrack, and just boring experience overall. We've reached the final Need for Russia game and it's more of the same. They did went through the effort to add new tracks, rather than reusing tracks from the previous game. Which this game also does, but at least there's something new to talk about. By the way, the power plant track is straight up called Chernobyl here, confirming my claim. I still don't understand why that's the racing track they chose for these games, but whatever. As for the new tracks, we got Scrapyard, Village, Factory District, and finally an island. Also for a game that has Russian vehicles, it has street race cars, which is very weird, but it does state on the box that you'll race in tuned cars. This game gets 4 out of 10. Unlike the last one, they did add new tracks, and they're not awful. I think my favorite one was the island one, but I'm not giving it a higher score. It's the same game like the last two we looked at, with barely any changes. Wait, we're not done yet, because we have a bonus game. A bonus game! This is the worst game in the whole collection straight up. The physics are all over the place. What doesn't help is that the checkpoint gates are not wide enough for the racers to pass through, so it's really easy to get stuck. And steering? Steering is bad, especially if you're going downhill. I can slow down, and when I try to turn, my vehicle falls over. You can get up sure, but it takes a while as you'll be watching Bigfoot breakdancing. Do I drive slowly then? No, because I need to keep the momentum to drive uphill, otherwise I come to a complete stop. There's 4 modes in total. However, time attack and last enlist are the same as the regular racing mode. And all of them have AI drivers. Yes, even time attack. The last game mode is demolition. It's bad. There's no score counter, and the wrecked vehicles have no damage mod. I mean they're damaged, but you can't damage them any further, which doesn't make sense. I'm giving this game 3 out of 10. This is the worst one on the whole disc. Maybe that's why they left it as a bonus. We might have looked at all the games in this collection. However, it's missing the 4th game. That means I have to find a legit copy of the game. Alright, I have downloaded the game and it's the same game I already played in my last video. Yep, it turns out Need for Russia 4 is just random low, American lowriders, whatever you wanna call it. Also, we're in the 4th game in the series and we finally have something that resembles the Red Square. In a Need for Russia game. They did it! Play Publishing has learned geography. In German Classics GP you race in Arabia. Oh, never mind. Are there any differences? Well, for one, there's no longer those stupid dance competitions, which makes this a better experience. There shall also be daily races, since the version I downloaded has a fix for them, but I don't want to spend my time grinding just to unlock new events. When you lose everything, you get some spare change from your friend. And this time it seems to work every time, therefore I no longer have to start a fresh file when I'm broke. I just need to grind again and again. Yes, I can purchase upgrades, but that costs money. However, they're crucial to the game if I want to have a chance to win a single race, and therefore earn cash, or lose everything again, I don't know. I'm giving this game 5 out of 10, it's random low with Russian vehicles. I will say, once you get past the grinding, it can be quite enjoyable. And I still think the concept of having to bet money in a race is interesting. Now what we need is the player actually losing the car when they lose the race. Actually, that will get annoying. Well, that was not as interesting as I thought. Pretty much all the games I covered were reskins of games I already covered before. And that seems to be a trend with these low budget racing games. But I guess that's what I get for judging a game by its cover. Still, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.